I don't think, Matt, there's any conservative in America that's been more outspoken against the Republican leadership for the last 14, 15 years than myself.
Hi, my name is Matt Welch. I'm the editor-in-chief of Reason magazine, and I'm joined here today by Richard Viguerie, the godfather of political direct mail, especially for GOP and conservative causes. Thanks for joining us here.
My pleasure.
Tell us how the direct mail industry has been affected, especially on the conservative side of the aisle, by the advent of President Barack Obama.
Matt, in the last 8 years, it's been tough because whenever your own people are perceived to be in power, conservatives were not in power, obviously, but a lot of the public felt that they were, or even if they weren't, really bad things wouldn't happen in terms of the president would veto the legislation, et cetera. But since Obama has moved into the White House, most conservative organizations that we are involved with in our direct marketing agency have seen significant increases in returns. I have the attitude that if you're running a conservative organization of any kind, whether it's a publication, a book club, a nonprofit, that you should maybe double the size of your organization this year. If you don't significantly increase the size of your organization, you maybe should consider stepping aside and let someone else run the organization, because it's an enormous opportunity to greatly grow the conservative, right-of-center, free market, libertarian causes. Unfortunately, what's bad for America is good to build the movement, the cause.
Do you see that that cause is being joined by sort of new entrants, younger people coming into the sort of conservative movement?
Yes, definitely. I am second generation, Matt, and when I came to New York as Executive Secretary of Young Americans for Freedom in the early 60s, not only was I reading the classics, but I knew many of those who had written the classics, Russell Kirk, Bill Buckley, Frank Meyer, James Burnham, and others. And unfortunately, today's conservatives, there's far more of them, and maybe fourth generation we're dealing with now, but they don't know who they are. They've not read the classics. They're not as well informed, in my opinion, as they should be. And also something else, they're not entrepreneurs. They're not starting new organizations. The second generation started many of the organizations. In fact, probably most organizations today, right of center, was started by the second generation conservatives. Cato, Reason, Heritage, the religious right organizations. And so I would hope that these young people coming into the movement now would, start new organizations. We need thousands of them. Let 1,000 new organizations bloom, in my opinion.
Isn't that lack of kind of intellectual underpinning sort of an expression of the fact that politics ultimately is more about culture than it is about ideas? People are attracted to it because they hate somebody or they broadly identify with somebody more that they actually think about the ideas behind it. And isn't that indeed part of the reason why conservatism lost its way? It became attracted to either figures that they liked or especially figures that they hated, and they stopped giving that kind of intellectual...
No question, Matt. I think that too much of today's politics is personality driven. I really enjoy and I'm glad the conservative talk show hosts are there and those that write the popular books. But it's to me like someone who wants to be a religious leader, and all they do is watch televangelists. They never read the Bible. They've never read St. Augustine, Aquinas, etc. And so there's too much personality-driven, aspect of our politics today, and I would hope that the young people would realize they need to go back to the roots and know who they are. If you don't know who you are, if you're not grounded, the wind blows this way, you're going to go that way, and different changes direction, you'll be easily swayed if you don't know who you are, if you're not well grounded.
You've been spending a lot of time with libertarian organizations and even gave the keynote speech, right, at the Libertarian Party convention in 2008. What's all this flirtation with non-Republican parties?
Matt, I consider myself a disciple of Frank Meyer. Frank Meyer was a brilliant conservative, anti-communist intellectual in the 50s, 60s, early 70s, a founding editor of National Review. And Frank talked and wrote extensively about fusionism. I've looked long and hard, and I just cannot find more than a handful of people who agree with me on everything, you know. And so if the cause of freedom has any future, it's going to have that future because people who more or less agree are going to come together. And I certainly have a lot more in common with libertarians than I do people on the left, which I have almost nothing in common with, ideologically, politically. And so I'm just very much a fusionist. I believe that there's not 51% that agree with the libertarians. There's not 51% that agree with the social right, with the foreign policy conservatives, traditional conservatives, which I consider myself to be one of. So I think we're all going to have to work together and agree to disagree on a few issues, but we've got to come together if the cause of freedom has any future.
But then again, the cause of freedom, or at least the cause of non-democratic partiness, was run by someone who expanded the government at a higher rate since Lyndon Johnson, expanded regulation since since Richard Nixon. Do you understand why libertarians feel out of place among Republicans?
Absolutely. I don't think, Matt, there's any conservative in America that's been more outspoken against the Republican leadership for the last 14, 15 years than myself. I wrote a book called Conservatives Betrayed, how George W. Bush, other big government Republicans hijacked the conservative cause. I've been very much persona non grata with George Bush and his White House, Karl Rove, Tom DeLay, etc. No, I'm been very outspoken. I'm disillusioned as the libertarians are. But if we are going to go forward and those who love liberty and freedom are going to govern America, and by the way, it's not going to happen in the next couple of years. We didn't get in this mess overnight. We're not going to get out overnight. It's going to take 6, 8, 10 years at least. We can do that, but we're going to have to do it together, quite frankly. As Benjamin Franklin said, we're going to hang together, we're going to hang separately.
On that note of togetherness, we'll have to cut it off there. For Reason TV with Richard Viguerie, I'm Matt Welch.